Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns Creatures series of comedy, fantasy novels, and short stories. With me is Sam West, and today we're talking about the spell Resistance.
Is futile. That's because it's not a very good spell.
I think I rate this one a little higher than you.
I think I throw this one a little bit more shade than it might deserve, but I don't. I feel like most characters aren't going to pick it up until like their fifth cantrip, and then they'll be like, "Oh right, I have resistance." Yeah, it's whatever. It's a first level it's a cantrip, not a first level spell. It's for clerics, druids, artificers. It takes an action to cast, range of touch, verbal sonic visual components. It requires a miniature cloak. Concentration is certainly attached to this thing. You cannot be concentrating on something else if you want to cast resistance. Concentration 1 minute. It's cool duration. You touch one willing creature once before the spell ends. The target can roll a d4 and add the number rolled to a saving throw of its choice. You can roll the die before or after making the saving throw. The spell then ends.
All right. Well, I guess we'll go to the obvious comparison. It's can't do this video otherwise. Guidance.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Guidance. Here's, I think, where I would draw the biggest distinction between these two spells. Resistance is the guidance for saving throws, right? Guidance is something you apply to ability checks. Whenever you're exploring the world, you choose when you make ability checks. You choose when you want to engage with something, which often makes guidance the kind of thing where your druid just kind of goes around to the party while they're adventuring and provides magical guidance to them as they're performing varying tasks. So, you begin scouting for the evening, your druid tags along with you to give you guidance. You are, tying a rope bridge to make sure no one gets hurt. You make some kind of dexterity-based skill check, guidance comes in to help. You are climbing big mountains. Druid slaps you on every single party member on the back as they attempt to ascend. They all get the bonus d4 to all their athletics checks to climb that hill. That is ubiquitous. You pick when to use it. Ability checks are a core element that happen every single encounter, every single session, every single adventure. You are able to cast guidance. Resistance, its minute duration attached to the infrequency of saving throws makes this really obnoxious to play with and have it be good. Because what its use case is supposed to be equivalent to guidance is I spam cast resistance on myself every minute until I make a saving throw, until an unknown event happens, until something that is outside of my control and poses a problem for me. That's when resistance will matter. If you're in combat, unusable, and that's when most of the time the resistance is going to come up. So you have to do it before the encounter will occur. So maybe it's like prep round, I cast resistance myself and go with it. Well, now we're like, okay, so this is something I want to cast before an encounter. That's where I would get the saving throw. It's more of a known quantity. That's where it should be good, right? Well, no, because it takes your concentration. And you don't want to spend your concentration prior to going into a fight, setting up a cantrip, whenever you could, like, cast a summon spell, cast a haste, cast a slow, cast some other big, important concentration effect. And then you start breaking it down more and more and more. And if it isn't the kind of thing where you just go, okay, DM, for every single minute, for the however long we're just exploring, I'm going to give resistance to the barbarian. This doesn't do anything. Then there's that little bit of obnoxiousness to be like, oh, I forgot to mention to the DM that I'm spam giving out the barbarian resistance. Can we assume that I was spam giving out the barbarian the resistance so we can get the d4 to the saving throw that he had to make against the trap? And it's just, it isn't going to have as big an impact. The juice isn't going to be worth the squeeze. I don't think it's going to be very meaningful on most characters.
Okay. No, it's certainly not as useful across the board as guidance. But yeah, I will agree with you. If somebody is just doing that every minute for the barbarian, that is truly obnoxious. I don't think I would. Would I disallow it? I don't know, but I wouldn't want to play with that person. Maybe.
I mean, what I would do as a DM is I would shortcut it. I would just say, okay, unless you tell me otherwise, I'm going to assume that's your plan of attack. I'm going to assume that you're sitting on the barbarian's shoulders, spam casting resistance on it. That's just where I'm going to put it.
I just don't like that. I mean, just imagining that happening annoys me. Yeah, even if you don't actually say it.
It very much feels to me like a classic World of Warcraft buff that lasts like 2.5 minutes, and you're just like, oh, I forgot to turn it back on, and I have to press the button to give myself the buff again. That just falls off way too fast, and you're just in this cycle of annoyance of I have to maintain this stupid thing over and over again, and it just costs me a tiny bit of mana and a little bit of bandwidth, and it's not worth it. That's kind of the vibe it gives to me.
But, aside from that, no, you're not always going to know when you need to make saving throws, but sometimes you will. There's if there's something that looks, am I going to justify fine traps?
No, you're
No,
not.
no.
You can't. This goes on
All
the
right,
same sheet as find
no,
traps, and
no,
you're
no,
right. They
no.
both neither should be there.
All right, no, you still you still don't need find traps. If you suspect there's a trap, don't cast find traps. Cast resistance. Then go like goof around, look for the trap. Well, you're laughing. That I feel like that is a legitimate. This is not me joking. This is a legitimate use. I feel.
Okay, I think that the the conception, the idea that you're walking through a dungeon and you go, okay, for this one instance, we feel like this environment could be trapped. I will cast resistance on one of the people that is looking for the traps. If the trap doesn't trigger at all, spell didn't do anything. If the trap triggers on somebody else, spell didn't do anything. If the spell,
this is where you send the rogue. Don't have everybody looking for the traps.
so just, that is a single player experience of everyone waiting around while the rogue makes a single check.
Okay,
They
or
fail or not.
it's a cantrip. Oh no, it does have concentration. Yeah, never mind.
Sure
Go ahead.
does.
Yeah, yeah.
Can't have to check magic up with this. I would
Anyway,
rather have to check magic up than this.
Get the let the rogue have his moment to shine. Go find the
Yeah.
traps.
Am I gonna spend a cantrip on giving my rogue 1 in 4 adventures an opportunity to die slightly less when they fail doing the thing they're supposed to be good at? No, I'm not taking a spell for that reason.
That is not the only case you could use it. You were talking about in combat. Unusable? I think mostly unusable. I think there are going to be little windows in there where your turn would be better spent giving somebody a little bonus to their saving throws than or in that's it if you don't require your concentration for something else.
What full caster, like druids or summoners, it's what they do.
All right, probably not druids.
Clerics have a robust list of amazing concentration effects they want to hold up alongside having their spiritual weapon. Like,
all right, what about low tiers? You got a small amount of spells.
You're gonna forego bless?
No, I'm just saying you use them all.
Then you're not going into that fight. Like, it's just something you shouldn't be doing at that point, right? If you have no spell slots left going into the final fight, maybe you only have you have 1 banked for a healing word and it's like level 1. Then all right, maybe I get a single saving throw gets plus a d4 for this fight. I guess.
All right. I mean, most of the time, this isn't going to be great, but
yeah, and like when you stack it up against this competition, you've got guidance right there. That's I preface this, very useful all the time.
Yes, but they're different spells. They're used for different situations. Yeah.
Are you putting both on your sheet?
If I have to choose between, all right, something to think about.
Because if you only get 2 cantrips, is this one of the 2 you're picking? Do you want a damaging cantrip on a ranged cleric? Do you want a utility cantrip like a you might take I think you would consider taking this over the cosmetic cantrips. I'm always taking cosmetic cantrip over this every single time because that actually will do things. Like, it has neat little effects that impact how you engage with the world in a way that this just doesn't. I guarantee you, if we were to sit down and play the 5 levels of this game together, I will be able to cast Druidcraft more often than you will be able to cast Resistance. I guarantee it. And it'll look more impressive.
The same amount of times, and neither of them will do anything.
That's because you have no faith in the cosmetic cantrips. They're good. They're not great, but they're fine. They're very passable. They are a way to expand and engage with the world outside of just attacking versus talking. So, like, I like them for that reason. Resistance really isn't a way to engage with the world in any meaningful way, I don't think.
I think it can have some windows.
As like your 5th cantrip, sure. As I would even go so far as to say, like, as your 3rd or 4th, sure. Then the once per encounter or once per adventure, when your rogue goes to do the thing, you go, okay, for this window of time, you get the bonus d4. Huzzah! We're proud of you. You did it. I remembered that I had resistance on my sheet, so you got a bonus d4 to this saving throw. That happens like 3 times a campaign. At that point, the bonus cantrips you're getting really don't matter anyway. Like, you're not casting damaging cantrips anymore. You're not casting the majority of the cantrips you can pick up. So I guess having one that has some niche use has some value, which saves us from 1 territory and makes it a 2. Is that fair to you?
2, yeah. I'm not going to go as high as to give it a 3. I thought you were going to give it a 1. I was going to give it a 2, but I'll give it a higher 2.
Okay. Or viewers at home, if you're watching this in the future and you're like, but resistance is super busted, that's because you're playing with the new one that came with 5/5. And that one is very good. That one's a reaction to give somebody a D4 on a saving throw. So like that all of a sudden is a lot better and very interesting. It's the thing I want on a lot of character sheets. Honestly, where we currently are in D&D 5th edition, with these playtest documents, there are some elements I'd like to pick and choose. I would take that version of resistance and offer it to players over the existing one, just because the existing one is pretty terrible, and it's just a quality of life better version that'll actually let you use your cantrips, which is a good place to be.
Well, with that mechanic, yeah, 100% agree with you. That sounds really cool.
It is. They do the same thing for guidance, and they limit it to like once per like long rest per person, so you actually have to pick, as opposed to being every ability check, everyone gets a D4. Now it's like no, the important ones, and I like that. I think it's a great decision.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll probably talk about that in the future. All right. For now, that was Resistance in its current form.
Resistance Player's Handbook 2013 or whatever.
Whenever that was. All right. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Let us know what you think down in the comments. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, informative, or entertaining, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button below. You needn't smash it. A gentle tap will suffice. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. And make sure you check out the links in the description, where you'll find my Caverns and Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels, Sam's full review of the spell, and other fun things.